Okay, peeps, so this is the first problem on that 3.3 Venn diagram worksheet. I wanted to go over one of these with you, and then hopefully you'll be able to do the rest of the sheet by yourself. At a school, 77% of the students have had driver's ed training, and another 40% have taken behind the wheel, 25% have taken both. If a student selected at random to win a year's free car insurance, find the probability, whatever. There's all these questions that we have to answer. But first, I want to do a Venn diagram, because if we do the Venn diagram in this type of problem, you're given percents. So really, the answers to all the probability questions are going to just be the percent that you have. So the first thing you should notice is that it says 77% of the students have had driver's ed and 40% have taken behind the wheel. That's clearly over 100%. So you know that they're really counting that 25% twice. So 25 is the intersection. 52 are the students that have just taken driver's ed and not behind the wheel. And then 15% of people have taken behind the wheel and not driver's ed. So when you're automatically told that 25% of the people have taken both, you have to remember that the entire driver's ed circle has to add up to 77%, because that's what we were given in the problem. Additionally, the behind the wheel circle needs to add up to 40%, but we know that the 25% overlap needs to be accounted for from the problem. So if you wanted to use the formula to find out what percent the overlapping circles account for, it would be something like, what's the probability that someone takes driver's ed or behind the wheel, knowing that you can't count the 25% twice. So you'd have to subtract out the intersection, or you can just add up the driver's ed, just the intersection, and then just the behind the wheel, and then you actually get the same number. You get 92 no matter how you do it. So if you add up, you can add 77 and 40 from the problem, which is driver's ed by itself, behind the wheel by itself, subtract out the intersection, you get 92. Or 52 plus 25 plus 15 gets you 92%. Either way, you know that your Venn diagram should have another little 8 in it outside the circles, inside the universe, that accounts for the people who have taken neither driver's ed nor behind the wheel. So in these problems, we're going to look and see that if we pick a random student to get a year's worth of car insurance for free, we're going to find the probability that the winner will either have had either driver's ed or behind the wheel. So that's kind of what we've already done. So you can either add up, again, those little pieces of the Venn diagram. I'm showing you here kind of the shading of where of the pieces I'm adding up, or you can use the formula. So it's 92%. B is that the probability that you'll have taken neither class, and we already worked that out. It's the complement to A, and that's 8%. So if you look at this Venn diagram to represent A, then you see the shading is of all the circles and the intersection. And then if you look and see that anything that wasn't shaded for A is shaded for B. So hopefully that kind of helps with that complement rule. Like you could take 100%, subtract 92, and then you get 8% because that's what's left over. Okay, so the next two, you have the ones that will have taken driver's ed but not have taken behind the wheel. That's just the section of the circle of driver's ed that does not overlap with behind the wheel, and that's 52%. Again, if you fill out these Venn diagrams correctly up front, then a lot of the work for the probabilities is done for you. And then that would be 52%. If you wanted to do this from the problem, you could take 77% from the problem. You can subtract 25, which is the intersection, and then you get the 52%. For D, you will not have taken behind the wheel. You have to be careful because you have to shade everything, like you have to consider every piece of the Venn diagram except for the circle behind the wheel. So you could take 15 plus 25, which is the people who take behind the wheel only, and then the people who take both, and then you can eliminate that. So you can take the 40% and eliminate that, and you have 60% left. Or you can add up okay, well, I have 52 people who take driver's ed, only driver's ed and not behind the wheel. And then I have another 8 people that don't take behind the wheel and they don't take driver's ed. So 52 plus 8 is 60. So you have 2 ways of getting that 60%. And that is it. Just be careful for the rest of the problems. This one had percents in it, but if you're given a different denominator, so in the next problem, I believe it's like 120 or something, just make sure that when you calculate the probabilities, you're making sure that you're putting the number from the Venn diagram over 120 or over the total number of objects or elements that we're discussing at the time.